Hello. As before, I'm doing the hands-free mic so that I can continue to talk since I'm paralyzed without my hands. I am Becker-Schutte, and you've seen me around, you've seen me tweeting. What you might not know is that I am a psychologist, and I specialize in working with patients and caregivers whose lives are affected by chronic or serious illness at the intersection of their physical and mental health. Steve mentioned earlier today that mental health is still the redheaded stepchild of healthcare. It is even harder to get access to mental health services than it is to get access to any other service. The story you told about patients who call in tears because they have called and called and called, their intersection looks like that. And they can't navigate a way through it. There isn't a crossing guard, there is no one to hold their hand, and that's part of what I try and do in my practice, and it's part of why I tweet like a maniac at these kinds of events, and I show up on Facebook, and I do all of the things that other psychologists tell me I am not supposed to do. So as I have you look at our brains, we talk about brains, and we talk about bodies, we talk about physical illness, and we talk about mental illness as though they are separate parts, as though they are somehow disconnected from one another, which blows my mind because all you have to do is step back and look at a full picture, and what you see is that you can't disconnect this stuff. We are whole people. And so when our bodies are affected, our minds are affected. And when our minds are affected, our bodies are affected. The more we learn about the brain, the more there are really cool tools like functional MRIs, the more we understand that things like stress and frustration and environmental factors, they're having a direct effect on your brain. So if you have to calculate every day how to be a brain and a pancreas at the same time, or if you're trying to manage chemotherapy, or if a regular day's activities makes you exhausted, all of those things are incredibly stressful. And it's not a coincidence that people with serious and chronic illness have a higher rate of depression and anxiety than the average person, because they're doing things that will make you depressed and anxious just by navigating daily life. I loved this picture because this is what it's got to feel like some days. You're being traveled through the world and you're buried in paperwork. Oh, and go to work and raise a family and be a productive member of society. So when you put all of those things together, there's no way that patients aren't burned out. Of course patients are burned out. We're fighting an uphill battle, and we're trying to live life at the same time. So what I do in my practice, the reason that I feel like mental health is a patient right in the same way that any other access is to be there to just hold the space and hold a hand and remind people that sometimes you have to take a minute and you have to breathe because life is moving too fast. So we do a lot of breathing in my office, a lot of pausing, a lot of taking time to find the ways to be in your present moment and to be mindful and find something, any small thing. It's one of the things that came out of the breast cancer and social media chat, that you find the joy wherever you can. No matter how bleak it is, you find the joy. It might be a teeny tiny joy, it might be the first flower of spring, but you find the joy. And that's part of the journey that I guide people through. I almost cried when I saw my jacket because not only does it describe grief, but it is the best single visual depiction of the way that I think about therapy I've ever seen. Because what I do in therapy, what good mental health practitioners do, is to hold hope and to hold the pain so that you can make it through.